Hi there. Today is Thursday, the 10th of March 2022, and if you didn't know already, the BJP has won a stunning victory, uh, getting themselves re elected in Uttar Pradesh. But we're not talking about politics today. We are talking about how the Russian Ukrainian conflict is going to lead to you paying higher airfares. Now, obviously, you might think that is because of rising fuel prices. Prices for aviation turbine fuel, or Jet A1 as we call it, are not regulated in India like petrol and diesel, whose prices have somehow not increased in the last few days. Um, so, therefore, you'd say that fuel prices have gone up. Of course, that is one major reason airfares will increase, fuel being the single largest component of an airline's costs. But then again, you got to keep in mind that most airlines in India, including the largest Indigo, use the latest A320 Neo aircraft, and the Neos have either the Pratt& and Whitney geared turbofan or the CFM LEAP 1A or 1B, if it's Boeing, um, engines. And these are much, much more efficient, to the extent of 15 to 20% more efficient than the previous generation of engines. Just like cars like this Hyundai Creta I'm driving have become more efficient over the years, with the engines in particular, the aircraft engines have also become significantly more economical. The real reason aviation fares will go up for domestic travel in India is because of a rise in lease rentals, and that is directly connected to the Russian Ukrainian conflict. Let me explain how. You see, after the collapse of communism, the Russian aircraft industry was completely decimated. So much so that large Russian airlines such as Aeroflot and S7 and even the others started acquiring American and European aircraft, that is Boeing and Airbus aircraft. So Aeroflot's long-haul fleet today is operated by Boeing 777s and Airbus A350s, and their short-haul fleet by Airbus A320 aircraft, just like most other airlines in the world. But Russia makes it very difficult for airlines to import aircraft. So very few aircraft in Russia, particularly newer aircraft, very few newer aircraft in Russia are actually registered on the Russian register. Now, the Russian register being RA. Those of you who knew the Soviet Union existed knew that the Soviet register was CCCP. That is just like cars are registered aircraft, also registered Indian aircraft, registered VT, Victor Tango. But to register an aircraft on the Russian register, you'd have to pay a very high tax. You'd also have to follow a different set of norms. And many Russian aircraft are actually therefore registered to either the Bermuda register, which is VP-B, or the Irish register, which is EI. Only the older aircraft, aircraft that cannot be, that will not go back into service with another airline, are usually registered on the Russian register. Now, the reason for that is there is a concern with how the airworthiness of these aircraft will be maintained in Russia. And because these aircraft are leased, once the lease is over, they have to go to another country. So many aircraft in India are also leased, and we'll get to that. But they're registered on the Indian register, that is VT. Almost all of Indigo's fleet is leased. So the Russian register is not. But after the war in Ukraine that Russia declared, it was said that all the sanctions on Russia would be, and that would make it difficult for Russian airlines, whether they're part of global alliances like Aeroflot, is part of the SkyTeam alliance, or S7, that's part of the One World alliance. These are big airlines, and Russia is a huge country, and air travel is the only way across. You're not going to spend 5 days getting from St. Petersburg to Vladivostok. You don't want to take a 6-7 hour flight instead, right? But with the sanctions on Russia and Boeing and Airbus and several support companies, including General Electric, which makes engines, Rolls-Royce, have said they will also abide by those sanctions. and that includes banks as well. Now, most of the leasing companies are banks or connected to, they're big financial institutions, right? So what happened is, once the sanctions were declared, these aircraft should have been repossessed. But the Russian authorities have now said that they will nationalize all the aircraft that are on their register, are leased onto their register. Of the 950 approximately civil aircraft on the in operating for Russian airlines, 550 almost are leased, and Russia has said they'll nationalize them. That's not just a loss of billions, I mean, tens of billions of dollars worth of assets. It will lead to lease rentals going up for other airlines across the world. And keep in mind, an airline like Indigo, India's largest, with a fleet of almost 250 plus aircraft, leases virtually all their aircraft. Now, Indigo has a good credit history of paying lease rentals on time, and but what is going to happen is, because of a breakdown of the system, of the leasing system, and some leasing companies might even go bankrupt, which will lead to other causes, also other issues as well. Lease rentals, insurance rates. I mean, India also has a slightly checkered history with lease returns. I mean, when Kingfisher went under, the income tax and sales tax authorities seized the aircraft, even though Kingfisher didn't own those aircraft. The leasing companies did, and they were forced to get into a huge legal dispute with the income tax authorities, because the income tax always thinks that they have the first lien on anything. So if lease rentals go up, and leasing costs are the second highest component of an airline's cost today, after fuel, it's even higher than salaries. If leasing costs go up and fuel costs go up, it's going to have a direct impact on what you pay, what fares you pay the airlines. Of course, leasing rates are determined by the creditworthiness of an airline. You have a credit rating just like an airline has a credit rating as well, right? I mean, Indigo has a good credit rating. Say a airline that has red tails in India may not have such a good credit rating. So it's not as simple. So different airlines might pay wildly different leasing rates for very similar aircraft, even new aircraft. Of course, there's demand for travel right now. I recently flew to Goa, and the fares I paid on Indigo were significant. I mean, my Goa Delhi flight, which was 3:20 p.m. departure, I paid almost 13,000 rupees return, and I was told of lucky people who flew back on Vistara's evening flight said they were paying 18, 19, 20,000 rupees. So fares are high right now. It's not an easy time of year. I mean, the airlines are minting money, but as we get into April, May, June, which is historically a lean period, I expect airfares to stagnate a bit, and it will make life tougher for the airlines. Travel, with the government saying that international air travel will open up on the 27th of March in India, and that will mean that airlines like Indigo will be able to start operations to Southeast Asia, to more Gulf countries in the Arabian Peninsula, and that should help them significantly as well. But my point being that the Russian-Ukrainian conflict, if it doesn't end soon and these sanctions are lifted, it's going to be difficult. And of course, you can argue, why can't these aircraft be repossessed? I don't suppose Russia will make it easy for the repo man to come. Secondly, even if the aircraft are repossessed, if there is no traceability of the spare parts and the components that have been used on the aircraft when they're being repaired, you may not want to operate those aircraft. So yeah, the conflict in Ukraine is going to mean that you pay more for airfares. So in for very strange reasons, not just because you will pay more for fuel. So that's my point. Thank you so much for watching. Do like, subscribe, and leave your comments. How much are you willing to pay for an air ticket? When do you say enough is enough and say I don't want to pay anymore?